And we are live. You are looking live at the Friday show. Woo! Fun. Always beautiful on a Friday. Just waiting for this to show up on my Facebook feed. There it is, so that I know it's working. It's a beautiful thing. See if my headphones work. Hector Gomez, you got in here first, followed by Tracy Bogert. Mary Anthony, the Spurs good luck charm. Mary Anthony, how are you doing? Haven't seen you here in a while, Mary. Welcome in. Sam Tobias, the pride of HEB. Welcome, Sam. Sam says, what's up? Chris and Dave. All praise Thomas Wade Landry. Yes. The football gods are bestowing another glorious and beautiful weekend of football upon us. Praise be to Tom Landry in football heaven. Woo! Luisa Alanis, good morning. Welcome in. I have the sports page because I still read the sports page because I'm an old guy. I still read the newspaper. Get off my lawn. Buenos dias, Jason Paniagua. Yo necesito muchas cervezas. Por favor. Still working on the Espanol. I'm working on it, man. One of these days, in fact, right now, Cinco de Mayo. We're targeting Cinco de Mayo for the entire show. En Espanol con especial guest Manu Ginobili de Argentina, de Villa Blanca, Argentina. Es muy magnífico. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate you listening on the app every morning. Most of you in here know Mary Anthony is the Spurs good luck charm. When she is at the Spurs game, the Spurs win 99.8% of the time. Proven fact. So we're trying to get the Spurs organization to fly her to every road game and certainly every playoff game. Woo! Let's see. We should be coming on board here any moment with the start of the show. There's Dave Ayler. His St. Louis Cardinals have won 12 in a row, which is pretty amazing. Paul Alexander going to join us just after 7. The voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer, at 8:35. Texans lose last night. What was it, 24-9, I do believe? Don't have it right up in front of me. I should. There it is, 24-9. Astros lost, but they're still looking very good. They had won something like 5 in a row. And I realized something this morning about the Astros. Positive thing.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night. Night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide. Break on to the other side. Break on to the other side. Break on to the other side, yeah.
Now, Chris Duel.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, and praise be to the football gods on high in football heaven. led by St. Thomas Wade Landry.
How about this, Cowboys?
Thank you, Jimma. St. Thomas Wade Landry. Praise Tom Landry. This is not only the Chris Duel show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. I like to think of it as the PTL Club, and PTL stands for Praise Tom Landry, the greatest football coach. Check that. The greatest coach of any sport to walk upon the face of the earth, who in his fedora ascended into football heaven in the year 2000 so that he could look down upon us and shower us with football blessings. And he does again this weekend, a great weekend of football games, college and pro. And I'll also add high school, especially in the great state of Texas, where we love our high school football. But certainly on this show, I mean, so many high schools across Texas, and we're out of Austin and San Antonio. We cover all of Central and South Texas, and we got listeners not only across the state and viewers on Facebook Live, the live video feed, YouTube, across America and around the world. Taro Kotani in Tokyo, Robert Browning in Tokyo, Brad George in Australia. We got all kinds of people just popping in here from around the world, and we do appreciate it. And we appreciate you for being with us as this football weekend has already begun. Last night, sadly, the Carolina Panthers beat the Houston Texans 24-9. Texans were hanging in there at halftime. It was 7-6. A couple of big injuries for the Carolina Panthers in that first half. Christian McCaffrey pulls a hamstring. Well, we don't know the serious of it. He will be examined today. He could be out for a while. Now, when a team gets an injury like Christian McCaffrey's injury, my first thought is, how does that affect the Cowboys? Well, the Cowboys play the Carolina Panthers in a couple of weeks. Christian McCaffrey, the best offensive player on that football team, probably won't be able to go. So go Cowboys. And thank you, Tom Landry, for that injury to Christian McCaffrey, because it benefits the Cowboys. I don't wish injury on anybody, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, if the injury had to happen, injuries happen in football, and I wish they never would. In a perfect world, no injuries would ever happen. But if injuries are going to happen, may they please just benefit the Cowboys. That's all I'm saying. Bad things happen. Let them benefit America's team. Tom Landry's team from on high, the Dallas Cowboys. So Carolina loses Christian McCaffrey to a strained hamstring. We don't know how. And I'm going to talk to Coach A. Paul Alexander about that. He knows a lot about hamstrings. He's had some hammies himself over the years, and many of the players he's coached have. What's the likelihood of that continuing to affect Christian McCaffrey when the Panthers play the Cowboys in a couple of weeks? Then it got worse. They lost their first-round draft pick. The Panthers cornerback, J.C. Horn, broke his right foot in multiple places. So Panthers come away with the win, but it was a costly one on offense and on defense. All right. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about college football this weekend. The Texas Longhorns in a big one, taking on undefeated Texas Tech. It's a game that Texas should win, but Texas Tech is coming in all cocky at 3-0. They have got to be sky high. If Tech gets that win, two things. Number one, the beginning of the Sark era will have sputtered to 2-2. With a loss that really would be very Tom Herman-esque and Charlie Strong-like. You got to beat the teams in the Big 12 you're supposed to beat. And you're supposed to beat everybody pretty much except OU, but you want to beat them anyway, and maybe Iowa State, although they've stumbled already this year. So big one for Texas at home, and a big one for the Aggies, who have aspirations to go to the college football playoff as they take on the Arkansas team that handily beat the Longhorns. A&M, in their world, is supposed to beat Arkansas. We'll talk college football. We'll talk pro football. We'll talk Astros, Major League Baseball. 9 games left in the regular season for the Astros. And something occurred to me about the Astros this morning as I was looking at the standings that I think is very potentially positive for the Houston Astros. Speaking of baseball standings, now would be a good time to introduce your soundscape stylist in a better mood than usual this morning for 2 reasons. Number one, his St. Louis Cardinals have now won 12 in a row.
12 games.
They're the hottest team in Major League Baseball right now, and I pray to God they punk the LA Dodgers in the wild card game. But it is also, Dave Ayler, when you walk out of this building today, you are embarking upon your vacation.
That means today will be the longest day of the week. It'll feel like I've worked 15 hours, even though I won't be working that long.
See, I'm different. On the day I work that I know I'm going on, I have senioritis. It's like like the Eagles song, I'm already gone. It's like I will sleepwalk through, and again, I never really dog it on the show, as far as you know, but I'll sleepwalk through the show and do what I do, but it's all gravy today. Nothing's going to bring me down because it's my vacation day. But you, Dave Ayler, consider it the longest day of the week, or if not the year.
Yeah, well, I'm still waiting on some things from other people in this building, salespeople, that need to get their stuff in on time. And so I can, because once I leave, I'm gone. And so I email them, say, hey, I'm leaving at this time, going on vacation. If you don't have it in, you're on your own.
Is it that damn JC Carpenter?
No,
is it that?
No, it's not him.
Okay. That delinquent. He's a very good guy.
Is he always delinquent with
No, I'm just making that because I like him. I thought, all right, which salesperson can I take a shot at here? So
99% of our salespeople are great.
They are great. Oh, so there is 1%.
That 1% though, there's 1%.
You want to name names?
I wish I could.
Oh man,
I won't call anybody out this time because their stuff isn't late yet. But by the time I leave, it's going to be late. And
now one other salesperson whom I love and respect, even though he's a Yankees fan, a friend of the show, and he comes in here now and then to talk Yankees golf or Spurs or whatever. David Munoz is the 1%. David Munoz, the jazz man.
No, he's one of our better ones that gets all his stuff in on time.
Yeah, and he kicks my rear end to get my stuff early not just on time, early. Chris, this is due next week. Could you have it to me on Tuesday of this week, dude? It's not due till next week, and it's Monday, and you're asking for it on Tuesday?
David is very organized.
He is.
So that helps out a lot on our end, too.
Wow. So, all right, man. St. Louis Cardinals, your team, 12 in a row, hottest team in baseball. How the heck are they doing it?
Yesterday was a close one because I was watching something and I saw the little ticker on the bottom and they were losing in the 7th inning. And thanks to Paul Goldschmidt, 2 home runs that brought them back, and they managed to bring it out.
You know what? Goldschmidt homered twice. You're right. And they overcame a 5-run deficit to beat the Brewers in Milwaukee 8-5. And, not a lot of people for the last several weeks have even given the Cardinals a second thought. But if you can get hot in late September and you're going to play your wild card game in October, and October's a week from today, October comes, I don't know, man. If the Cardinals win that wild card game, and I'm hoping it's against the Dodgers. Sadly, last night, the evil Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Colorado Rockies in 10 innings, 7-5. The Giants lost in 10 innings to the Padres, 7-6. So the Padres lead over the Dodgers now 1 game. I think the Dodgers have 8 games left to play. They do not play each other, and the Dodgers look to have a slightly easier schedule. So my hope, and I've been saying it with you, Dave, this week, is it will be Cardinals-Dodgers in the 1-game wild card playoff with the red-hot Cardinals knocking them off. But it could be Cardinals-Giants before it's all said and done.
That's fine, too. Right now, I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself. The magic number for the Cardinals is 6. So they got to get 6 wins or combination of 6 wins and Cincinnati losing or somebody or Philadelphia losing. And so, and today's going to be tough. They got a doubleheader against the Cubs. So I think the win streak may be ending today.
I hope not. I for your sake, even though I grew up a Cincinnati Reds fan until I met Johnny Bench, for your sake, not that I can't let it go, Dave. That was 1982 when Bench totally dissed me and ripped my heart out when I met him. Not that I can't get beyond it as a middle-aged man all these years later, but
somehow we got to get Johnny Bench on the show.
Oh man,
to settle this once and for all.
I've heard him lately on the Dan Patrick show. Dan Patrick likes him a lot, and he's been on the Dan. And he sounds great. For me, and that's what's so amazing about life. And I told the story a few days ago on the show, and I've told it a number of times over the years. I grew up a Johnny Bench fan. He was my favorite player in baseball. Just like Roger Staubach is my favorite football player, and Roger's my favorite football player ever. I won't go into the story, but I met him, and it was very negative, and Johnny pretty much dissed me and blew me off. There's more,
and it was 82, so he was still playing then, right?
I know he had just recently. Okay. I think around 81, he had just retired, and he was doing radio, but close. But it's amazing though. How things in his life, that was nothing. In his life, that was 10 seconds. And there's no way he remembers of all of the fans who came up to him, some random fan at the Bonaventure Hotel in Los Angeles in 1982. There's no way he remembers it. Yet for me, it scarred me as a baseball fan.
It's ruined your whole life.
We won it. He was my favorite. So now it's Jose. I can never meet Jose Altuve now because Jose Altuve is now my favorite baseball player.
Just stay out of the Bonaventure Hotel.
Yes, I'm never going back in that damn place. And if Jose Altuve disses me and treats me like garbage, or at least maybe there'll be a garbage can involved, I would feel bad. So I therefore, my Cincinnati Reds fandom days ended in 82, so I pulled for your Cardinals. Plus I so want the Dodgers to have to be the wild card, have to play one game, and to lose to the Cardinals. It would be so cool. I'll get into it later about the Astros. The Astros have only 9 games remaining, but they've got a huge opportunity. What the heck? I'll go ahead and preview it right now. If you look at the overall standings in Major League Baseball in the American League, the Houston Astros are 3 games behind the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays have the best record in the American League, and they've had it for a long time. And I just, for the longest time, think, the Astros aren't going to catch them. But right now, the Rays have 94 wins. The Astros have 91. The Astros have 9 games left. They've got 3 against the Oakland A's at home. They've got 3 against the Oakland A's on the road. In between those 3 games, they've got 3 games at home at Minute Maid Park against the Tampa Bay Rays. If the Astros can beat the Rays and sweep them, they could make up those 3 games on the spot in head-to-head games against the Tampa Bay Rays. And then in other games against the Oakland A's, who, oh, by the way, are in a slump. The A's have lost 4 in a row. The Astros still have a chance to have the best record in the American League. And therefore, if indeed they face the Tampa Bay Rays in the American League Championship Series, they would have home field advantage. Therefore, a possible 7th game would be played in Houston at Minute Maid Park. So I had just given up on catching the Rays for the best record in the American League. That ain't over yet. We've still got a little bit of intrigue left. Now, Astros lost last night. Was that in extra innings last night? I don't have that in front of me. Nothing better than radio when I'm searching the internet for a score. The Astros lost 3-2 last night. I know that was the final score. I'm just trying to see if that was in extra innings, and our survey says no. It was 3-2 loss to the Angels. So they lost by 1 run. Ohtani with the go-ahead run late in that ball game for the Angels. So that's a 1-run loss that the Astros, they'd only be 2 games behind the Tampa Bay Rays and gotten that win. So 9 games left for the Astros. They got 3 against Oakland, and in the middle of that, 3 against Tampa Bay. and then 3 to close out against Oakland. Oakland's in a slump. Tampa Bay, obviously hot and the best team in the American League record-wise, but an opportunity for the Houston Astros. All right. As we roll forward, coming up, the high five play of the day. Quick hello to everybody joining us on the live video feed. You're invited to jump onto the live video feed. Let's see. You can do it through Facebook Live, AM 1300 The Zone, or Ticket 760's Facebook page. You can get in there through YouTube, Ticket 760's YouTube page. So good morning to Hector Gomez, Tracy Bogert, Mary Anthony, Sam Tobias, Luisa Alanis, Jason Paniagua, Steve Duraco, the original Rock. Let's see, Jason Garcia in here. Brian Mendoza, a Houston Rockets fan, but we still like him anyway. Oh, and he's an OU fan. Brian, you're pushing your luck. You're liking a lot of the teams I don't like, but I still like you. You're a good guy. It's okay. You're no Johnny Bench. Lucinda Sullivan jumping in with a coffee emoji this morning. Welcome, everybody, on the live video feed. You can also dial us up. Yeah, we take phone calls. Come on. 800-707-9760 if you want to dial us up. 800-707-9760. Good morning, Rick Rodriguez, who just jumped in. Welcome, Rick. All right, coming up, the high five play of the day. Top of the hour, about 30 minutes away. He's the best. Coach A, Paul Alexander. We'll talk Longhorns. We'll talk Cowboys. We'll talk football. God knows what else we'll talk about when Coach A gets involved from radicallyrational.com. We'll have our big 3 college picks. I have Shannon's big 3 picks in college and in the NFL. We've got the 3 locks that rock. We'll deliver those unto you just after 8 o'clock. And coming off that tough loss last night to the Carolina Panthers, we'll hear from the man who had the call, the voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer, going to join us just after 8:35. Davis Mills looks good at times, the rookie quarterback out of Stanford last night for the Texans. So we'll talk all things Texans and NFL with Mark Vandermeer. It's a big show. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Football Friday. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! All right. Little Beatles on the way out there. I like that. That is a little loud. Jesse Bratton, good morning. Jesse, I love you, but I don't love the Yankees. But I get it. I mean, it's like I'm a Cowboys fan. The Yankees are to baseball as the Cowboys are to the NFL. The team that everybody, if you love them, you love them. If you don't love them, you hate them. And, you know, I get it, Jesse. The Yankees, they hate us because they ain't us. I know. All right. Let me imbibe on some coffee. I often bring this up. In the 80s, that was before Starbucks hit in the 80s, and the coffee industry wasn't making a lot of money. Believe it or not, coffee was waning. So the National Coffee Council or the International, somebody, and I'm sure these are on YouTube, and they did these commercials, be a coffee achiever. And one of the coffee, so they got celebrities to endorse coffee. And one of those coffee achievers was Ken Anderson, the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals. And of all the quarterbacks that you could have gotten in the 80s, Joe Montana, could have even gotten Danny White, Randall Cunningham, Phil Simms. They got Ken Anderson. That was a little weird to me. He was not exactly oozing with charisma. All right. I am going to see, is it hot enough? Ooh. I don't have to heat my coffee because it's hot enough in my HEB purchased Cody big aluminum 500-ounce Strata tanker of coffee. So that's good. Thank you, Anthony Del Toro. Anthony Del Toro likes my shirt. In fact, later this morning, I put out these videos on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook, usually on the weekend, to begin the weekend, to just talk about the weekend, to wish you a great weekend. And at the end of them, I toast you with a Bud Light, the clean, crisp. So I have beer in the studio. I don't know how, and this is being recorded now. So the boss man, Brian Gann, now knows. Brian, it's not open yet. But so anyway, I do these videos, and at the end of the video, I toast you with America's favorite lager and my favorite beer and Steve DiRocco, The Rock's favorite beer, Bud Light. This Bud's for you. When I was in college, I was at USC in film school, and the commercial campaign for Bud Light was called Make It a Light. And someone would bring a chandelier and they go, no, Bud Light. You know, bartender, give me a light. And they'd bring out a lantern. No, Bud Light. So I did a movie about the end of the world and nuclear war. And it's a movie. It's called Last Call. And part of it was in a bar. So the little vignette after the end titles, I've got this still on film in black and white from 1982 or 3. I mosey up to the bar and go to the bartender and I go, bartender, give me a light. And then we cut to a nuclear explosion and a mushroom cloud. And it's like loud explosion, death, destruction, mayhem. And you hear me in the background yelling, no, Bud Light. It was funny at the time. Thank you. All right. Coffee. It's the wonder drug that works wonders. I'm a coffee achiever, like former Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Ken Anderson. Caffeine, because management frowns upon crystal meth and cocaine, although it's a great song by Eric Clapton. The final weekend of September, oh, by the way, next Friday will be October 1st. Today is, I know, Jason, I think I saw you post that. Come on, Eric Clapton. Why didn't you play cocaine at the Frank Irwin Center? Today is National Cherries Jubilee Day. Today is National Punctuation Day. Be sure to punctuate, folks. I also saw, I don't have it here in the notes that Dave Ayler gave me. I think it's also National, like, Indigenous Peoples Day. I think I saw that elsewhere. Oh, there you go, Sam Tobias, saying the New England Patriots are the NFL equivalent of the New York Yankees, not the Dallas Cowboys. To that, Sam, I would say, and maybe you were true or right when Brady was there, but to that, I would say not anymore. Not now that Tom Brady is gone. So you could say Dallas is no more because they're no longer a powerhouse and haven't been really since Jimmy Johnson left. But I got to find a score here, see if I have time before we get back. Let me see. Portland State, Western Oregon. Let's go. Come on, Google. Don't make me wait. And you're going to make me wait. All right. One of the greatest rock and roll intro riffs ever. Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones. And ever since drummer Charlie Watts passed away a couple of weeks ago, man, every time you hear the Stones, it just makes you think of him and just realize what an incredible band that was and is. And they're still going out on tour this fall. And they knew that Charlie Watts was ill. I don't know if they knew that Charlie Watts would be passing away as he did a couple of weeks ago, but so they already had another drummer lined up for this tour for the Rolling Stones. Obviously, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Ron Wood will tour, but just sorry to see just a great legend like Charlie Watts pass away. But my goodness, what a life, what a body of work. A great musical call there by Dave Ayler, your soundscape stylist.
Have you seen what they did to their logo for Charlie Watts?
No, tell me.
The Lips logo, it's all black now.
Oh my goodness.
For Charlie Watts.
That's cool. Boom. That's way cool. I don't know how I missed that. See, that's why I'm glad you're here. As soundscape stylist, you know these things.
I do what I can.
Yeah. Very, very nice. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon is on vacation this week. She'll be back on Monday, but I've got her football picks. I texted her yesterday and I said, you're not getting away. You may be on vacation, but you are going on the record with your football picks. So I've got Shannon's big three college football picks. I'll give you mine just after 8 o'clock this morning. I've got her 3 NFL locks that rock. And I've got mine as well. So she every week she picks against the spread. We're not weasels just picking winners. We pick against the spread and usually humiliate ourselves. At least I do. So that's coming up, and we'll talk about the big games coming up this weekend. And I kind of like the fact that the Cowboys and the Eagles play on Monday night. It just extends the weekend. And if you love NFL football in the great state of Texas, and I do, last night we had the Houston Texans kicking off Monday Night Football. Sad that they lost. It was 7-6 at halftime. Carolina Panthers wound up winning that game 24-9. I talked about it in the first half hour, the big injuries that the Panthers sustained in that victory. But so you open up on a Thursday night with Houston Texans football, and that's a nice. I'm more of a Cowboys fan, obviously, so that's a nice hors d'oeuvre It's a nice appetizer to get your football weekend started. Now we move into Friday. There's even a couple of college games you could check out on a Friday. Of course, Friday generally reserved for high school football in the great state of Texas and across America. And then Saturday, some tremendous games. Texas versus Texas Tech, Notre Dame versus Wisconsin. You've got Arkansas versus Texas A&M. Just some great games this weekend, Saturday in college football. And then Sunday, a lot of tremendous games on Sunday as well. And then we move. The weekend does not end on Sunday. We go into Monday and Monday Night Football, which will be absolutely tremendous and an opportunity for the Cowboys to say, hey, it's us in the NFC East. Don't even think about it, Philadelphia Eagles. So go Cowboys. Speaking of football, just a few minutes away now from the top of the hour. We love talking football with Coach A, Paul Alexander from RadicallyRational.com. I actually, hopefully Paul won't mind me saying this. I don't think he will. I actually yesterday went into the studio with Paul Alexander and recorded, I guess, about an hour of a video for a podcast video for RadicallyRational.com. It was just me and Paul talking about big picture items, and we'll let you know when that video drops at RadicallyRational.com. We'll talk more about all of that and a lot of football with Paul Alexander at the top of the hour, just after 7 o'clock. We got your sports history and sports birthdays in the next hour as well. As I mentioned, in the 8 o'clock hour, we'll take a look at the entire weekend, college and pro, not only our picks, Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, and myself, but we'll just look at the big games and make sure you know when the games are, where you can find them, and what you need to watch and pay attention to over the weekend. Then just after 8:30, the voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer. God love him, after calling that game last night, working late into the night, getting home late after a Thursday night football game, going to haul himself out of bed early to talk to us on this show just after 8:30. That's very cool of him. All right. I think it's about time that we do the high five play of the day. I like this segment because there's not enough positivity in sports and in the world these days. So Shannon and I and Dave, we like giving out high fives. And I really like today's high five because it involves two of my causes, football and beer. That's two of the major food groups right there, football and beer. High five is brought to you by, appropriately, High Five. 2 locations in the Austin area, and they got it all going on. They got big screen TVs all over the place, so you can watch whatever sports you want to watch. If you're not going to the Texas Tech game on Saturday, you can go to High Five and catch it with a lot of fans and have a lot of fun. Great food, great drinks, food specials, drink specials, all kinds of games you can play, from bowling to laser tag, axe throwing, and more. Don't be wielding no axe around me. I'm just saying, Shannon loves the axe throwing. High Five, 2 locations in San Antonio. Dave Ayler, my high five goes out to the head coach of the Portland State Vikings. His name is Bruce Barnum. Do you have any idea why I am giving a high five to Portland State football head coach Bruce Barnum?
I have no idea.
See, you, sir.
Did I give you that story?
You gave me the show prep. This is
maybe I should read just more than the headline.
You gave me the show prep. Yeah, no, I love this. I had another one I was going to go to, and I saw this and said, "Oh, no way!" The person I was going to give a high five to ain't getting no high five today. It's going to be Bruce Barnum. He's the head coach of the Portland State Vikings. It was their home opener, taking on Western Oregon, and that would be if you're tracking your mascots. Western Oregon is the Western Oregon Wolves this past weekend, and he wanted fan support, so he offered, I love this, free beer to anybody who showed up. So from there, Barney's Beer Garden was open for business, and no one, including Coach Bruce Barnum, was expecting the response that resulted. by the end of the game in that beer garden, and I can't even pronounce all of this, 786 Deutsches Fresh squeezed IPAs were served. 1,260 Coors Lights were served. The final bill that the coach said he'd pay, I will buy you beer if you come to the game, was $14,448.
Wow.
That was the beer tab, and the coach paid it.
And I'm sure he's not making the, Texas coach money.
Yeah.
He's not making Sarkeesian money.
Yeah, Sark is making a little more than Bruce Barnum, the coach of the Portland State Vikings. I remember back in the day, you'll appreciate this, Neil Lomax, quarterback of the St. Louis Cardinals, went to Portland State. I'm trying to think, who do I know who went to Portland State? Neil Lomax.
Okay, that's more play than Neil Lomax has gotten in
I know.
years.
But Neil Lomax.
I didn't know that's where he went.
Yeah,
there,
he was number 15 for the Cardinals in the late 80s, early.
He took over quarterback after Jim Hart retired.
Yes. And I played fantasy football back in that era because I've been playing a long time. Neil Lomax was a fantasy football machine. Dude threw for many, many touchdowns, and he went to Portland State. So, yeah, Bruce Barnum, final bill, $14,448, and that's pre-tip.
Wow.
And see, having been a bartender myself back in the day, a cocktail waitress or a bartender, I tip $1 a drink, typically. So if I'm paying $2-3 for a beer, $1 goes to the bartender because I realize most people don't know how to tip and they don't tip well. So you go schlep me a drink at the bar, or you go schlep me a drink as a cocktail waitress or a waiter. I'm giving you $1. So before tip, the bar tab for Bruce Barnum, head coach of Portland State, $14,448. It all came out of his pocket. Oh, and somebody did the math. You say he doesn't make Sark money? That $14,448 amounts to about 7% of his salary for the year.
That's still a lot.
That's a hell of a lot.
Okay, so if you tip 20%, right? That's usually
which you should minimum.
Okay. So on 14,448,
what's that tip going to be?
0.20 is $2,889.60.
Wow, almost a $3,000 tip.
Wow!
If you're going to be a good tipper on that,
and so there was 700 and something IPAs and
786 IPAs, 1,260 Coors Lights.
That was all they were offering. You weren't offering any kind of, Bush or Bud Light or something.
That's all I see in this. That's all I see
Shiner
in this story. I know. Well, it's Portland. It's Portland, Oregon. So
then I can understand the IPAs.
And of course, you're probably wondering, did Portland State beat Western Oregon? Yes, they did, 21-7. And Portland State came into that game 0-2, and Western Oregon came into that game 0-2. And Portland, wouldn't that have sucked for Coach Bruce Barnum? You do this promotion, everybody shows up because you want to get people to get hooked on your football product. And then if they would have lost that game, that would like, man, I'm out 14 plus 1,000 plus 2,000, almost 3 for the tip.
Yeah, but you still would have had a lot of happy fans though. So that's all that matters.
High five.
Keep the fans happy, and the rest will fall into place.
Yes.
Well, and free beer.
2 words in the English language that go so well together: free beer.
Well, and in that story it says that I don't know how many people will show up. It's free beer. People are just going to come out of the woodwork.
Exactly. Wait, did you say free beer? You had me at free beer. Very nice. And I hope that Bruce Barnum did tip 20%. Again, as I mentioned, Dave, I was a long-time bartender. I was a long-time waiter. I once managed a restaurant and bar in Marina del Rey, California called Islands, where we served. And before I was a manager, I was a bartender at this restaurant called Islands. And at the lunch crowd, the bar would be packed because all these business people would come in for lunch, and they would want, we served like sandwiches and burgers and tacos and fish tacos. So invariably, people would order food and they would order beverages like beers. And a number of times, because it was so crowded, people would walk their check. And I can't even chase them into the parking lot because I'm behind the bar. I'm the bartender, and there's and the policy was somebody walks their check Who pays for that bill? I
do.
the bartender. I mean, I found out very early, and I was a waiter in restaurants very early in my life, and I found out most people don't know how to tip. So it's like if I tip for a waiter, I tip a minimum of 20%. I start at 20. Now, if you insult me, if you go, God, you look fat, or ooh, are you Chris Duel? I hear you on the radio. No wonder you're on the radio. You're pretty ugly. I mean, if you insult me, I will take it down to like 15%. But if you're really good, I go nuts. I'll go 25, 30, 40. I'll throw you a 10, 20. I don't care. Because I know how hard that job is, especially now after the pandemic. And I know most people don't know how to tip.
And when you're at that job, did you have a lot of businessmen coming in there for lunch and all they had was like Jack and Coke?
Oh, yeah.
And they'd go back to work sloshed.
Well, and all I could really do well was beer and wine. I wasn't a very good mixologist. So someone would come in with an exotic drink. It's like, and this was pre-computers. I had a Rolodex. So if like somebody would come with some exotic drink and would go, all right, yeah, sure, I'll be right back with that. And I'm like, oh, damn, what the hell is that? How the hell do I need some grenadine? I need some bitters? What the hell? So yeah, no, it was.
Well, in that case, whatever it is, in that case, you just go heavy on that, whatever the alcohol is.
Yes.
So if it's a rum drink, you just load it up with rum. Like, ooh, that was a good one.
Well, but occasionally you get like an alcohol snob who will taste it and go, this isn't exactly what I was looking for. No, this is just it's like, shut up.
See, I'm slinging drinks back here.
Shut up and drink. And you should be drinking beer anyway. Like a man.
Just here to get hammered.
Exactly.
I'm helping you out.
Yeah. So tip your wait staff, tip your bartender, because a lot of people don't. And just do the right thing and be a good dude or dudette. All right. One of our favorite times of the week is just after 7:00 on Fridays, where we speak with Coach A, Paul Alexander of radicallyrational.com, who's not just a football historian, a football analyst, a football devotee, but he's also a Renaissance man and kind of a sage and philosopher. And what's cool is, now he's got this website that just enables him to be all that he is. It's called radicallyrational.com. But when we have him on, we mainly talk football during football season because we should. So we'll get his thoughts on Texas versus Texas Tech, Texas A&M versus Arkansas, UTSA going on the road at Memphis. And yeah, we'll talk NFL football, Dallas Cowboys, and the big one, Tampa Bay at the LA Rams. We'll get into all of that with Coach A, Paul Alexander, next after the sports update on the Chris Duel Show. Yeah, Jason, Jeff Traylor should offer that. Yes, Steve Duraco, they had to buy a ticket. Don Holding saying that could be a tax write-off. Joel Colon in here. Joel, I saw all of your social media photos from Boston and Fenway Park. Very cool, sir. I'm glad you had a great time. Okay, I think I'm going to go grab some coffee. Get ready for the Paul Alexander experience. And at some point today, I need to shoot my weekend video and lift this Bud Light to you. This Bud's for you. Don Holding in here was on the show yesterday. Haas Holding got his big wrestling match tomorrow night at the Woodlawn Gym. If you didn't hear that, it's on the podcast, or go to Don Holding's Facebook page for more information. Don, wishing you the best of luck tomorrow night. Knock him dead. Kick Caleb's ass. Caleb, what was he, like 6'4", 300 pounds? You're going down. And he's like 23. You're going down, Caleb. You don't know what you're messing with. Yeah, Jeff Traylor. I like that, Jason. Jeff Traylor needs to make that offer. Free beer for everybody at the Alamo Dome. That would be tremendous. Don Holding writes, I hope the city really gets behind UTSA football. I really think this coach has something special going on, and football will really take off. Yeah, Don, I get the same vibe. Jeff Traylor is special, and he's doing something very special at UTSA. And I don't get it. Why? You know, they are the Division I college football team of record in San Antonio, the 7th largest city in America. And with all due respect, and there's a lot of respect due to UIW. That's also Division I football. But I mean, UTSA, it's just the city should get behind it. You shouldn't have to be a UTSA student or a UTSA alum to be a UTSA fan and go support them. It's great football. They represent the city of San Antonio and the area and the community in Division I college football, and people should get it. And apparently they don't, or they don't yet. Now, as everybody knows, winning cures many ills. So if they can keep winning, and man, it's a big one. 2:30 tomorrow at the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. If they could win that one against undefeated Memphis, that'd be great. Joel Colon in here says the experience at Fenway was unbelievable, a dream come true. And Joel, I know you're a big Red Sox fan and a Patriots fan, and I mean, for you, my God, I'm sure it was. But even for me, and I've never been to Fenway, would love to go. Of all the, I think I said this the other day, of the iconic remaining baseball stadiums that have been around a long time. Obviously, the original Yankee Stadium closed a number of years ago. So you've got Fenway Park, where you were just a couple of nights ago. Wrigley Field in Chicago is iconic. Good morning, Beth Settle. Glad to see you in here at 7, Beth, instead of 6. Maybe you got an extra hour of sleep. Wow, Joel says, I literally almost cried when I walked in and saw it. That is so cool. And it's so cool, Joel, that Fenway Park means that much to you. So again, just quickly, I would say Fenway Park, Wrigley Field, and Dodger Stadium. I've been to Dodger Stadium. I have not been to Fenway Park or Wrigley Field. Would love to. But yeah, that Joel, I love that you nearly got emotional and did on one level get that it just meant that much to you. And to me, you know, my favorite movie, obviously, I say it all the time, is Field of Dreams, and Fenway Park plays a big part in it, where the Kevin Costner character takes the James Earl Jones character, Terrence Mann, Kevin Costner playing Ray Kinsella, to Fenway Park, and they have the vision where they realize they need to go find Moonlight Graham, and that happens. So, I mean, I would, just on that level, if I ever get to Fenway Park, I would feel that way. One of my favorite artists, James Taylor, who we're scheduled to see October 17th, along with Jackson Brown at the Toyota Center. James Taylor, although born in North Carolina, grew up and lived and continues to live around the Boston area. He's got a home in Maine. He's got a home in Montana, but he does a concert at Fenway Park every summer, I think around the 4th of July. So I would love that. Go see a James Taylor concert at Fenway Park. Stick around, you know, a day or two later or earlier. Thank you, sir. A day or two later or earlier, catch a Boston Red Sox game. And they won the night you were there, Joel. I was paying attention to that. Very cool. Paul Alexander is on the line. He is radio gold and a golden god. Woo! Let's see here. Here we come.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night.
Chris Duel.
It is a beautiful and glorious football weekend that the football gods on high have looked down upon us, and they continue to shower us with football blessings. A weekend that began last night in Houston, Texas, NRG Stadium. It wasn't the result we wanted. Would have been nice to see the Houston Texans find a way to beat the Sam Darnold-led Carolina Panthers, who suffer a couple of big injuries on both sides of the ball last night. We talked about them, as did Carolina. But football on a Thursday night, thank you. Friday night football, typically the greatness that is high school football in the great state of Texas. Our next guest knows all about that. He's coached high school football and now calls play-by-play of high school football. College football on Saturday, big ones, Texas Tech versus Texas, A&M versus Arkansas, Wisconsin versus Notre Dame. Sunday, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the LA Rams. Are you kidding me? And then the weekend doesn't end on Sunday. Monday night, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, host the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's do what we should do. Let's talk football with a man who is not only he played the game of football, he coached the game of football, he calls the game of football. He is a football historian, analyst, and savant from radicallyrational.com. The one, the only, Coach A, Paul Alexander. How are you this morning?
Chris, good morning, and I love the way you laid out that weekend schedule and agenda. And what I'm finding, it's always been this way, but this year more than ever, football has just become my sanctuary. I mean, that's my blankie. That's my binky. I just want to curl up in the corner and watch football until my eyeballs bleed, rinse, and repeat on Sunday. I mean, it really has become my emotional anchor at this point.
And I'm going to start here, Paul, with a baseball reference, but it's really a football question. And on our live video feed on Facebook Live, Joel Colon just wrote us, and he is a Red Sox fan and has always been a Boston sports fan. He's a Patriots fan. He made his first trip this week to Fenway Park in Boston, and when he walked into the stadium, he said he nearly cried. It was just so beautiful and overwhelming. And I'm going to football because this reminds me of you. You have famously many, many times every football season taken road trips, both college and pro, to stadiums across the country, college football, pro football, and part of it just because you wanted the experience. You wanted the game day experience in these amazing stadiums. As I ask you the question and reflecting upon those college and pro football road trips, what stadium, other than the Rice University Stadium, which I know you love, what stadium moved you the most as being a cathedral to football?
I'll start with the service academies. I mean, what a phenomenal experience. And I've seen games in Annapolis and at West Point, and I've seen Air Force home games, and it really is a stirring experience. There's nothing like LSU on a Saturday night. Nothing like that. And, you know, out west, that whole deal at the University of Washington on the shore of Lake Washington, that's not bad either. But if I really had to put something in the number one position in terms of my emotional reaction, and I know this is going to sound like an odd choice, but back when I was doing play-by-play in the Canadian Football League back in the 90s, you know, they had a team in Baltimore, and they still played at the old Baltimore Memorial Stadium. We did a couple of games there because there was a preseason game there was a regular season game there, and then there was a playoff game there. And, Chris, you talk about somebody almost being moved to tears. I could feel the ghosts in there. I mean, I felt number 19. I felt Brooks Robinson, for that matter. That was just incredibly emotional.
Yeah, and of course, number 19, Johnny Unitas, for our younger listeners who might not get that reference. And it is so amazing, Paul, when you go to a stadium where you've seen so many amazing games over the years. I remember when I was on the field and we snuck in. We went to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena when I was going to USC, and it was like a weekday, and we kind of finagled our way through a fence and brought a football in and went down on the field. And as a kid watching so many games in that Rose Bowl, at the Rose Bowl over the years, whether it was Archie Griffin for Ohio State or O.J. Simpson, who at the time I didn't have issues with O.J. for USC. But we went onto the field, we took a football, we threw the football on the field, which was so cool. But it is so amazing as a fan when you get to go to one of those hallowed venues and really connect with something that just has such an emotional tie and a memorable tie to your history as a sports fan.
Let me just bust myself right now. I was remiss in not mentioning the Rose Bowl because the first time I walked in that place, I was paralyzed.
Man, yeah, it's a special place. All right, let's dive into college football tomorrow. Paul, I look at the two of the big Texas teams, obviously the Texas Longhorns and the Texas Aggies, and I look at both of those games, and I see a similar dynamic. Texas hosting Texas Tech. Sark needs to win that game as he's establishing this new world order on the 40 acres. If they lost that game to Tech, to me, that would be a Herman-esque or a Charlie Strong-like. You're not supposed to lose a Big 12 game to Texas Tech if you're on the ascent, and I believe the Longhorns are. And similarly, the Aggies taking on a very good ranked Arkansas team this weekend, and Jimbo Fisher and the Texas Aggies have college football playoff aspirations. And you got to worry about the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Auburns of the world. If you're A&M, you better beat Arkansas, even though they're very, very good and they beat Texas. How do you feel about these two games?
Well, let's start with the Texas game. I agree. You don't want to lose at home to Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech is potent, and they have a special kind of venom for the University of Texas. I don't know anybody who really hates the Longhorns as much as Red Raiders fans do. Anybody. That would include Aggies. That would include Oklahoma. I don't know any fan base that hates the Longhorns like Texas Tech fans do. And they're always offensively potent, and they're very dangerous, and they're going to be jacked up. And I think it's particularly dangerous for Texas in terms of the way this could be perceived, because you just pasted Rice 58-0. And by the way, that was completely legit. And I don't know that I'm not going to use the word ashamed, because I'm not going to be ashamed of the team that I backed. But that was about as disheartening and really disgusting as anything I've witnessed. You do that and then come back a week later and lose to Texas Tech. Yeah, that's a problem for all the reasons you just cited, because it just smacks of Charlie Strong and regimes like that. Now, as for the Aggies, hey, all I can say is be afraid. I mean, be very afraid. I'm not sure I quite have the guts to pick Arkansas, but I'm really close to that. That is a hyper-physical team. And the Aggies have some genuine problems in their offensive line. And, I don't want to talk about law of averages or your due or anything like that, but the Aggies have won the last 9 games in that series. This is clearly the best team Arkansas has had in a long time. And as I said, they're really physical. Top to bottom, if you look at the roster, the Aggies are probably slightly the more talented team, but they also have a whole lot more pressure tomorrow. I think this is a big test for them. And do I think they could lose that game? Yeah, I absolutely do.
Man, what's really nice about both those games is we can actually see them both at different times and focus on them. Texas takes on Texas Tech 11 a.m. on ABC, national audience tomorrow. And then it is Arkansas versus A&M at 2:30 from Jerry World tomorrow on CBS. So 2 big games involving the 2 best teams arguably in the state of Texas, and we can get a good look at both of those games. I got to bring up, if we're going to talk about teams in the state of Texas, Paul, UTSA, the Roadrunners, Jeff Traylor, their head coach on this show every Monday morning. They are undefeated. They're 3-0. They have high expectations, but They got to go to the Liberty Bowl and take on the Memphis Tigers 2:30 tomorrow. They are undefeated. And as Jeff Traylor told us on Monday, that Memphis Tigers team is loaded with team speed. How do you think the Roadrunners will fare against Memphis? And if they did get the win, what would that mean for their program?
I'm going to float this thesis. If somebody else has said this, forgive me. So maybe it's not the first time that somebody's heard this. This is by far the biggest game in UTSA football history. It's not. I don't want to hear about Illinois 3 weeks ago. I don't want to hear about the University. Those are all great. But in terms of your standing and status in college football and giving you a genuine measuring stick, this is the biggest game in Roadrunner history. And in my estimation, it's not close. Because when you look at the current group of five, and we don't know how all that's going to shake out, but right now, I'm going to say it. Memphis is kind of who you want to be. And the only way you can be something like that is to beat something like that. And Coach Traylor, as always, is right. I mean, Memphis just has withering speed. And that's just not something you can coach. The Liberty Bowl can be a very tough environment. But one thing we know for sure about the Roadrunners is they are uncommonly mentally tough, which is really endearing quality. They're not going to blink. They're not going to be shook up or anything like that. But on the other hand, Memphis is a really good team. Beat Memphis on the road. What would it mean in the short run? You're ranked.
Yeah, I saw they got one vote in the coaches poll this past week, but yeah, they would bust their way into the top 25. And Paul, you just said that defense for the Roadrunners is endearingly tough. They've got a running back in Sincere McCormick, who Andy Everett and others say is bound for the NFL. Yet, you look at the attendance in the Alamo Dome, and compared to opening day and the first season in the Larry Coker era, for some reason, and I know COVID is happening, but even pre-COVID, attendance has been sparse for how big that program is, where that program is headed, especially now, and the size of that Alamo Dome. I mean, the San Antonio Commanders of the Alliance of American Football drew 35,000 in the Alamo Dome, and UTSA struggles to get to the 30 number. They're in the 20s. San Antonio, Paul, the seventh largest city in America. You've got what is now a very, very good football product, an amazing football coach, and some great stories on that UTSA football team. What do you think is the disconnect? Why aren't people showing up to the Alamo Dome for UTSA football games?
This is really puzzling, and my house is not clean because I love the Roadrunners. I mean, I like everything about that program. I have not been to a game so far this year, and if I go to one, it's going to be the Rice game because of those ties. So I really don't want to be hypocritical. I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth. This is the best theory that I have, and I'm not saying it's the right one. It may not even be half-baked. But football is such a passion in San Antonio. And we have all of these football allegiances that go back 100 years. And as really, really harsh as this is going to sound, I don't know, given the relative newness of the UTSA program, even with all the buzz they're creating, even the fact there's nobody that doesn't like them. There's nobody in San Antonio that doesn't like that program. But am I going to go to the Alamo Dome, particularly in a COVID pandemic, or am I going to watch 14 hours of football on TV? And I think and you talk about the Commanders, I think that would kind of bear out that theory, because the difference was that was all the football you had access to.
Yep. That's a tremendous theory.
This is accurate or not, but that's the best I can do.
Well, that is a very educated theory from a man who lives, breathes, and loves football. We're talking with Coach A, Paul Alexander from RadicallyRational.com. Before we talk about the NFL, I got to bring up one more football game that I find very intriguing, Paul. Another 11 a.m. start at hallowed, talk about stadiums, Soldier Field in Chicago tomorrow. Number 18, Wisconsin, 1-1, hosting number 12, Notre Notre Dame at 3-0. Wisconsin, a 6.5-point favorite in that game. How do you feel about that one? And is 6.5 a little big when 3-0 storied Notre Dame is coming to Soldier Field to take you on?
I think it's a little big, but I also think Wisconsin's going to win the football game. Wisconsin ought to be undefeated because they just blew that game against Penn State. They were dominating. They had a chance to just completely put that one away, and they didn't do it. Notre Dame is better than they've been in years past because they have been able to recruit a little more speed, and they are a little more offensively versatile. But if you talk about an offense that I respect, the design of the offense, the design that they have in Wisconsin is a really, really good way to play because they just run the heck out of the football and they're so physical. And when they throw it, they're not trying to wound you. They're trying to kill you. I really enjoy watching Badger football. I don't have any particular love for Notre Dame. I don't have any particular animus for them. But if you like really physical football, and I do, this is going to be a great game to watch, but I do think the Badgers are going to win.
Coach A, Paul Alexander, talking football with us. Moving to Sunday, Paul. Of course, Cowboys, Eagles play on Monday night, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the marquee game on Sunday, it's the late game on Fox, 3:25. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the LA Rams. Rams with Matthew Stafford now. They're a lot of people's pick to go to the Super Bowl in their own house, SoFi Stadium, and that's what the Buccaneers did a year ago, led by Tom Brady. Both teams 2-0 coming into this one. If Brady leads the Bucs into SoFi and beats the Rams, I mean, how crazy is that going to be? And who do you like in this game?
Tampa Bay has had some defensive trouble right now, and that is going to be a very tough environment. And the Rams now have the quarterback that they've always wanted to have because, again, they want to be a running team. But when Goff was the quarterback, there was more of a dink and dunk tone to their passing game, whereas Matthew Stafford, as the late Al Davis would say, is vertical, and he can hurt you. And you can just tell that team's playing with a lot of swagger. I think they expect to win. Gun to head, I'd still pick the Buccaneers because you'd be silly not to. But if it's the Rams win that game, I would not consider that a huge upset at all.
And finally, Paul, Monday Night Football, America's team, your team, my team, the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Beginning of the season, most analysts said the Eagles would be last in the NFC East. The Eagles have played very, very good football. Both teams come in at 1-1, but I still have to believe, in the same way we said Texas should beat and needs to beat Texas Tech in their house, I got to believe the Dallas Cowboys should beat and need to beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Jerry World on Monday night.
Well, first of all, I want to give the Cowboys some props and praise them, because that was really a trap game against the Chargers last weekend, in my estimation. And that got a little dicey at times, but they really hung in there and they got the job done. And, we were coming off that emotional game against the Buccaneers, even though you'd had the long week, etc. I was really impressed with that. And their defense did an excellent job, despite the fact that they're beat up. And the offensive line actually performed better than I thought it would, given the fact that they had to make so many changes and so many adjustments. Now, here's the thing about the Eagles. They are playing better football than anybody anticipated. And a guy that I want to give complete props to is Jalen Hurts, because I'm a huge Jalen Hurts fan as a college quarterback. But I'll just be completely candid about this. I thought he had no chance to become a top-quality NFL quarterback, or maybe even no chance to become a starter. And the reason was he didn't throw the ball like an NFL quarterback. And if you can't throw the ball like an NFL quarterback, you can't be an NFL quarterback. And it's kind of axiomatic in football that you can't teach somebody to throw a football. You can refine it, but they can either throw it or they can't. And the evidence was that he couldn't. And my goodness, he can. He now throws like an NFL quarterback. I just can't tell you how much I praise that young man. That was some hard work, and he is dangerous.
Jalen Hurts, may he have a good career, but not a good game on Monday night. He is deserving of the props. Finally, Paul, I want to mention to people, and our listeners just love hearing you talk football, but your website, radicallyrational.com, while yes, you deliver quite a few football and sports takes, I mean, you also, you're kind of elevating into philosopher and sage status. You talk about life, you talk about culture, you talk about us, you talk about politics. For anybody who might be new to radicallyrational.com, your website, what will people find there?
Tell you what they're going to find there in very short order. They're going to find a podcast that we did yesterday with one Chris Duel, just off the charts. I mean, that was an Earth orbit shot. That was a tape measure homer. That was one of the the absolute most interesting things that's ever gone on Radically Rational. Just a fascinating conversation, and talk about getting to see more and different sides of a human being. If you're a Chris Duel fan, as I enthusiastically am, you're going to want to see this and hear this. And thank you so much. But in terms of what we got there, we're trying to have a good time. It's an entertainment product, but it's kind of rooted in societal issues, both in news and sports. The way I'd like to put it is we take the subject matter seriously. We just do not take ourselves seriously.
Well, and Paul, I must say, being in the studio with you yesterday and your lovely bride, Joe, who is the executive producer of radicallyrational.com, you and I, while we talk a lot of sports, we've also had a heavy news and politics background and culture background over the years in media. And to just sit down with you for about an hour and talk about big ideas and big picture ideas, I mean, I was in bliss. It was like, and I feel the same way you did. It just, I drove out of there just blown away by the discussion. So we'll let everybody know when that video podcast drops. And I just appreciate the opportunity. And I urge everybody, go check it. There's so much information and material waiting for you right now at radicallyrational.com. Paul Alexander, have a great football weekend, sir. And we'll do this again next week.
Thank you so much. And it is a football weekend. We only get so many of them, and then we die. So with that in mind, I ain't watching no Ryder Cup. Are you kidding me?
I am totally with you, Paul. I will check it out, but I don't know if I'm going to watch the Ryder Cup. I'm so into football all weekend long. Our thanks to Coach A, Paul Alexander. Coming up, we have some sports history for you. We've got sports birthdays, and we will talk more football. I will dive into the Houston Astros and the baseball race. 9 games left for the Houston Astros, and an opportunity to do something very special in these final 9 games for the Houston Astros. We'll get into that as well. Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans at 8:30. Our big 3 college picks and our 3 locks that rock in the NFL just after 8 o'clock as well. With you till 9. Thanks for hanging out on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Yeah, I went into the studio with Paul yesterday and recorded Radically Rational, or an episode of his podcast, which was really cool. I need to, and I might just do it right now so that I have it. I need to record a video, and let me see here. When I record my video, I have a trusty tripod, which makes it a little easier. Let's see here. Oh, and I've got, let's see if it'll work. I have a lavalier microphone, which makes the sound a little bit better. That is always very tangled when I open it up. We will do our best. And where do I put the mic? Do I put the mic on? Like right there? Aim it at me? Or does that look too weird? That looks too weird. So when I do this, I typically try to hide the mic. See, I want to get the better sound from the mic, but I want it off camera. So I'm going to hide the mic down there somewhere. Oh, that looks weird. Can I get away with that? Is it on camera? Not if I do that. Okay. So I'm going to lower music. I'm going to get the beer ready. And then I'm just going to do this thing. All right. Here we go. And camera's there. And 3, 2, 1. Hey, Chris here. The weekend has arrived. Fall is here, but you get one more weekend in September. So use it wisely. The good news about the fall is football just gets crazy. Some of the big games are happening now. Longhorns versus Texas Tech at DKR, a big one in the Big 12. Of course, the Cowboys on Monday night taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Cowboys need to win that one at home. Enjoy this final weekend in September. October comes next Friday, and enjoy it, I say, with the clean, crisp taste of Bud Light. It's America's favorite lager and my favorite beer. Have a great weekend. Adios, September. Enjoy football, and please enjoy responsibly. Done. In under a minute. Woo! Yeah, under the shirt, Jason, but it's still, I could go under the shirt, but yeah, whenever I try to attach it, it's like the microphone goes in a weird direction. So I usually put it in another location. But so anyway, there's that. Dean Stone, good morning. THIF. Thank heaven it's Friday. Maybe that's what you said, Dean. Very good, sir. Yeah, Clint, we had a lot of Joel Cologne in here this morning talking about Fenway Park. I don't know if he's still here. You will be there, Clint Proctor, a Texas Tech partisan. Clint, I must admit, sir, if Tech wins that game, that would be absolutely huge for the Red Raiders. I don't know if you just heard Paul Alexander, but he just told us no fan base hates Texas more than Texas Tech. So, you probably know that better than anybody. Yeah, if BYU winds up, Shannon is on vacation, Dean. She'll be back. She's in Orlando going to Disney World. She'll be back Monday. I do have her football picks, though, and I'll reveal those just after 8 o'clock. Yeah, BYU is I think a Big 12. I think that's good for BYU, and I think that's good for the Big 12 in the aftermath. There's Joel. in the aftermath of Texas and OU making that announcement that they're leaving. Yeah, we did a lot of Texas and Texas Tech talk. See, that's what you get for getting in here late, Clint. Come on, man.
We're back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
And indeed, welcome in Shannon on vacation just for one more day. She will be back on Monday. She's been in Orlando. In fact, Dean Stone on the live video feed was asking, where's Salty? Orlando, last I heard. She'll be back. I do have her picks, though, just after 8 o'clock. I know the 3 college football picks against the spread that Shannon has made, and I've got her 3 NFL picks against the spread. I will make mine as well. And if you're wise, you will not bet the farm on mine. But who knows? A broken clock is correct twice a day. Maybe I'll get lucky and go 3-0 on either college or NFL this week. But they are educated guesses. I'm paying attention. We'll just see how they work out. Lots more to talk about this morning. Coming off the beginning of the NFL football week number 3 last night, the Carolina Panthers beat the Houston Texans 24-9. We will get into that game more heavily with our good friend Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans. He had the call last night. Davis Mills, the rookie quarterback for the Houston Texans last night, not a bad night, 19 of 28 for 168 yards. He had a touchdown, no interceptions. You got to like that. He was sacked 4 times. But Davis Mills had this Houston Texans team that it was tied at halftime, 7-6, but Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers pretty much poured it on in the second half. We'll talk more about all of that with Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans. The big story coming out of that Monday Night Football game was that Christian McCaffrey, the all-world running back for the Carolina Panthers, suffered a hamstring injury, a strained hamstring, and then it got worse as the Panthers lose their first-round draft pick, cornerback J.C. Horn, with a broken foot. So just tough breaks last night for the Panthers, but they're 3-0. So, Sam Darnold got to be loving leaving the Panthers leaving the New York Jets, where it was just god-awful for Sam Darnold. And now as a Carolina Panther, he's 3-0. Although from here on out, it's going to be tough. And the Cowboys have the Carolina Panthers in a couple of weeks. So can Christian McCaffrey be back in a couple of weeks to face the Cowboys? And if he is, with hamstring issues, recovering from a hamstring issue, will he be at full strength? We shall see. All right. It is Friday, September 24th. We'll bring you some sports birthdays and this day in sports history. September 24th, 1919. Boston Red Sox slugger Babe Ruth sets a Major League Baseball home run record with his 28th home run. That was the record in 1919. He hit it off Yankee Bob Swacky. Sorry, Bob. In a 2-1 loss at the Polo Grounds in New York City. Now, 1 year later, all right, 28 home runs was the most ever in a season in Major League Baseball in 1919. Changed that 1 year later. In 1920, Babe Ruth becomes the first player to hit 50 home runs in a Major League Baseball season. He went from 28 to 50. Did they have steroids?
That's what I was going to say, touching for PEDs.
Yeah, what the heck was he doing, man? Babe Ruth. He hit number 50, a first-inning blast off Jose Acosta in a 2-1 loss to the Washington Senators. On this day in 1957, the Brooklyn Dodgers played their last game at Ebbets Field. They defeated the Pittsburgh Pirates 2-0. Yeah, fans of the Brooklyn Dodgers, when they left Brooklyn to move to Los Angeles, that was just gut-wrenching and heartbreaking for those fans. This day in 1971, the Houston Astros beat the San Diego Padres 2-1 in 21 innings. My God. 21 innings. I mean, as long as you're selling beer for the full 21 innings, I could maybe hang. But if you stop beer sales after 7 innings.
Yeah, well, back then they probably did sell it.
Yeah,
so.
no. So, yeah. In fact, we'll sell you half-price beer if you stay. Because most people were leaving probably after 15 innings. On this day in 1972, New York Jets quarterback Joe Namath passed for 6 touchdowns against the Baltimore Colts, and the Jets won 44-34. And finally, on this day in 1992, Toronto's Dave Winfield, at the age of 40, became the oldest player to reach 100 RBIs at age 40.
He could hit the ball a little bit.
Yes, he could. To which Tom Brady, I'm sure, would say, hold my beer. I'm going to do a whole lot more at age 44 in football. Brady in LA versus the Rams this weekend. That's going to be a good one. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1921, legendary sportscaster Jim McKay, who anchored ABC's Wide World of Sports, a number of Olympic Games. Jim McKay, born in 1921 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He passed away in 2008. Born on this day, September 24th, in 1941, Baltimore Colts tight end John Mackey. John Mackey caught a 75-yard touchdown pass in Super Bowl V against the Dallas Cowboys from Earl Morrall. I didn't like that. Not that I can't let it go. Cowboys lost that game 16-13. January 17th, 1971. Sadly, John Mackey, later in his life, really suffered from dementia. And it was before the whole CTE issue was really better known, but most just concluded that multiple head blows to John Mackey caused his issues later in life, which were really profound. God bless him. John Mackey passed away in 2011. Dave Ayler will like this one. Born on this day in 1946, Pittsburgh Steeler and NFL legend Mean Joe Green.
All right.
Born in Temple, Texas, baby. How did the Cowboys not get him, man? He was a Texan. He went to North Texas. He was born in Temple, Texas. How do you not get him on the Cowboys somehow? Tex Schramm, Gil Brandt. Damn it.
It was the heart of the Steel Curtain defense.
Yes. And one of the greatest Coca-Cola commercials ever.
Oh, yes.
Where he gives the little kid his jersey and drinks the little kid's Coke. Joe Green, Hall of Famer, of course, won the Super Bowl in 74, 75, 78, 79, a 10-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro, and consummate stud and good man, Mean Joe Green. Finally, born on this day in 1973, a Heisman Trophy winner with 2 first names. Can you name this man? A Heisman Trophy winner, Dave, with 2 first names. Was born on this day in 1973.
Is it Orenthal James? Oh.
Close. Eddie George.
Okay.
A man with two first names. Eddie George. Hall of Fame running back. He went to Ohio State. We won't hold that against him. Played for the Houston Oilers and the Tennessee Titans. I had a cup of coffee with the Dallas Cowboys, actually. Won the Heisman Trophy out of Ohio State in 1995. And he's in the College Football Hall of Fame, excuse me. And was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Eddie George. Happy birthday. Those are your sports birthdays and your sports history. Is Joe Green your favorite Pittsburgh Steeler as a Steelers fan?
He'd be in the top 3. I don't know if he's number 1 because my number 1 of changes from day to day, but he'd be in the top 3. I'd say it's between him, Jack Lambert, and Troy Polamalu.
Oh, I hate Jack Lambert. But Troy Polamalu, a USD Trojan with tremendous hair, you got to like him. But yeah, yours changes from day to day.
Pretty much, yeah. It depends on the day.
See, my favorite Dallas Cowboy, always unchangeable, even though there's other great ones. Roger Staubach. I can't imagine ever wavering on that. Even though it's like I like
Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, right.
But he may be in the top 5, but I don't think he wouldn't be in the top 3. I don't think.
Yeah, Bradshaw was amazing and still is, and one of the funniest guys.
Oh yeah,
that panel on Fox with Howie Long and Terry Bradshaw and Jimmy Johnson. It is just so darn good.
Terry Bradshaw's induction speech at the almost said Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, at the Football Hall of Fame, was hilarious. It was classic Terry Bradshaw.
And it's so long ago, I don't specifically remember it. I'm going to have to go find it on YouTube.
I just remember him talking about his bust or whatever. He goes, I don't know how much stuff I saved the artist by not having any hair, but because I saved him, I saved him a lot of work for being bald.
Very funny. Very funny. I just want to point out for those of you playing at home, and Dave Ayler, I credit you for letting us know that today is September 24th is National Cherries Jubilee Day. Really? Cherries Jubilee.
Yeah, I'm not a big Cherries Jubilee guy.
I don't even know totally what Cherries Jubilee is. I mean, I know what cherries are. What is it? Is it a pie? Is it a cake? I've heard of it. I don't know that I've ever had it.
I think it's something with ice cream.
Cherries Jubilee.
It should be in that story there.
It's a classic. I know you're making me read like the details. It's a classic flambe dessert.
Yeah.
Made with cherries and liqueur, typically Kirsch or brandy, and served over vanilla ice cream.
I think don't you light it on fire or something too?
Ooh, I don't know.
Flambe would be that'd be light on fire.
Well, and they say it originated in France in the 1800s and quickly caught fire.
There's alcohol in it.
It became one of the most fashionable desserts of the era and in the modern era, and became a standard at fancy restaurants across America, especially in the 50s and 60s. Who said, hey, man, we don't have a Cherries Jubilee Day. We need to make September 24th Cherries Jubilee Day.
And sadly, there's people out there that say, you know what, there is no Cherries Jubilee Day. God, there's people out there like that. That look for reasons to, this needs to be, chocolate fritter day.
Exactly. Today is also National Punctuation Day. Do you? You're in radio. You communicate well and you punctuate. I've never heard you punctuate incorrectly, Dave Ayler.
I was okay at English.
Yeah,
I was in high school and grade school. It wasn't my best subject, but I did okay. Except for diagramming those sentences. That was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it doesn't exactly fall under punctuation. It's not like having a comma or a semicolon or quotation. It's a way of expressing yourself. But one of my pet peeves is when someone says, "I could care less."
I say that all the time.
But no, the expression is "I couldn't care less."
Right.
It's like I am so sick and tired of the New York Yankees. I couldn't care less about the New York Yankees, but 50 or 60% of the people go, I could care less. Well, if you could care less, then there's still more caring going on there because you could care less.
Just say, I don't give a damn.
Yeah, I couldn't care less. I'm just saying. So, all right. The Ryder Cup, and we talked a little bit about it. The Ryder Cup is underway, and Paul Alexander was very, very funny mentioning there's such great football all weekend long. And you got the Ryder Cup getting underway in Wisconsin. We talked about it yesterday with Andy Everett, our golf guru. So if you're into golf, this is day one at the Ryder Cup, and there's a lot going on, and there are some interesting pairings. It's in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. It is technically the 43rd Ryder Cup, and the first, it got underway at 6:15 Central. 6:15 it got underway. So there are foursome matches. Players will alternate the hole until it's completed. So we will try to see if we get you an update on the Ryder Cup. Some of the foursomes, which is kind of interesting how they do it. One of the more intriguing ones is Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth going against John Rahm and Sergio Garcia. So that's interesting. You've got Dustin Johnson and Colin Morikawa going against Paul Casey and Victor Hovland. Brooks Koepka and Daniel Berger will go against Lee Westwood and Matt Fitzpatrick. Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. This one's interesting, against Rory McIlroy and Ian Poulter. So those are some of the matchups you're going to hear about today, if you so care. And I do, and it's interesting. But as Paul mentions, and maybe golf needs to rethink when the Ryder Cup is. It's just such great football all weekend long. And you talk about tomorrow morning, the 11 a.m. starts. Of course, Texas and Texas Tech get underway at 11 a.m. at DKR, and that will be the one that I'm focused on. But opposite Texas, and that's an ABC telecast, by the way, on national television, opposite Texas versus Texas Tech, and Texas Tech is 3-0 and undefeated. Notre Dame versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin, number 18 in the country. Notre Dame, number 12 in the country. And Notre Dame 1-1. They let one get away to Penn State, but Notre Dame coming in at 3-0. I think it's going to be fascinating. It is a 6.5-point spread, which is formidable, if you ask me, against not a powerhouse, but a long-time successful blue blood like Notre Dame. Speaking of the Longhorns versus Texas Tech, it is our poll question this morning. You can go vote on Twitter at Ticket760, and it's pretty straightforward. Who wins the game between Texas Tech and the Texas Longhorns? And right now it's because we're a fairly Longhorn heavy listenership. I know we got a lot of Texas Tech fans out there like Clint Proctor and Wes Perkins, and they state their case frequently to us. But the current voting, Longhorns, 55% say the Longhorns are going to beat the Raiders. 45% have the undefeated Red Raiders. Texas Tech comes in at 3-0. If they find a way to beat the Longhorns in their house, in the Longhorns' house at DKR, under new SEC pedigree head coach Steve Sarkisian, that would be a huge win for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Texas is going to take care of business, but it's going to be a great game. We get it early, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Coming up, our football picks and Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, in the 8 o'clock hour on the Chris Duel Show. Jason says, Dave hates the hanging participle. Who doesn't? I hate the semicolon. I'll tell you that. Louisa says, Hook'em Horns beat Texas Tech. John Williams, SMU at TCU in the Iron Skillet Bowl, kickoff at 11 o'clock tomorrow. I should have mentioned that, John. All right. I'm going to grab some ice, baby. Desmond Howard, Jason, that is a Heisman Trophy winner with 2 first names. Desmond Howard, that was, you get props for that. That was a very good guess. So you've got the two music beds for this? Cool, thanks. And since she's not here, obviously, this might be a little shorter, and we'll dive into some other stuff.
I got about 10 minutes of music for college.
Cool.
About 20 for NFL. So.
Beautiful. Wow, I just saw Joel wrote this, and Joel, I missed this when you wrote it. It scrolled away during a segment. Joel, who was just in Boston, writes, one of the coolest things I did in Boston was drink a Samuel Adams beer at the Beantown pub, and the bar seat I was sitting at was directly across from Sam Adams' tomb on the other side of the street. It was like drinking a beer with him. That's very cool. Fred Robert Casares Jr. says, birds up, go Longhorns, go UIW Cardinals, go Cowboys. I will second all of those emotions. All right, we are almost back. Joel Cologne says, "Go Pats, beat the Saints." Is that one of the games I picked? It's one of the games I picked, Joel. It's one of my picks against the spread. We will start with some college picks and highlight some college games. And then we'll go to the NFL. We've got Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, going to join us in the next segment just after 8:30. In fact, I got to text him. He was up late last night calling the game. So for him to haul himself out of bed and join us the next morning is above and beyond the call of duty. All right, we're seconds away. Yeah, it is a 3-point spread, Joel. Can Mac Jones take care of business? Here we come.
Night divides the day. As you run, we're going to the other side. We're going
Now, Chris Duel.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, and praise be to the football gods on high who look down upon us and shower us with I heard a little bit of that football music. I heard just a bar, heard a doom. I heard some of that NFL Films music. We'll get some more of that. That was just a little taste. That was just a little tease of NFL football music as the football weekend is here. As Paul Alexander said, whether you agree with him or not, I ain't watching no stinking Ryder Cup this weekend when we've got nothing but great football on television. Andy Everett, I hope you're not listening. Andy Everett's probably not listening. He's probably on a flight now. They're probably at the airport on their way to Memphis. Andy Everett, our golf guru and voice of UTSA athletics. If he heard Paul about an hour ago, less than an hour ago, he said it late in the segment in the 7 o'clock first half hour, with all this great football on television this weekend, who the heck wants to watch the Ryder Cup? Andy does, and I know a lot of you do, so it's cool. We talk about it. But my God, it's a weekend of football, 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 as God intended, with some great matchups. And we do this every Friday at this time. Shannon and I pick 3 college football games and 3 NFL football games against the spread. And yes, even though Shannon is on vacation and has been frolicking around Disney World in Orlando, and elsewhere, I'm sure every day wasn't at Disney World, but she's been in Orlando throughout her vacation. She will be back on Monday, but she has been kind enough to provide unto me, and I will provide unto you, her 3 college football picks and the 3 locks that rock in the NFL. And by the way, programming note, just after the bottom of the hour, we will go hardcore Houston Texans, coming off that loss last night at NRG Stadium, Thursday Night Football. Carolina Panthers beat the Texans 24-9. However, Davis Mills at quarterback showing, I believe, quite a bit of promise. So we'll talk about that and more with Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, just after the bottom of the hour. But right now, let us dive headlong into our weekend football picks, starting with college football. Appropriately, Dave Ayler playing some college football march theme songs, alma maters, fight songs. So let's do this thing. I will give you Shannon's picks first. That's the way we'll do this. I'll give you Shannon's picks, and then I'll give you my picks in college football. Shannon's first pick, a big, big game, one of the marquee games of the weekend. It is opposite Texas versus Texas Tech. So maybe during the commercials, unless you're at the game at DKR, maybe you'll switch over. Or if you're at a sports bar, you watch them both, you get multiple TV screens. That would be at Soldier Field in Chicago. Number 18, Wisconsin, taking on number 12, Notre Dame. Wisconsin coming in at 1-1. Notre Dame at 3-0. I think it is an inflated 6.5 point spread. Wisconsin by 6.5, and Shannon lays down the 6.5. Take that 6.5, Notre Dame. She is picking Wisconsin to beat Notre Dame by more than 6.5 points. Shannon has those Wisconsin Badgers. Paul Alexander earlier in the show picked Wisconsin, although maybe not by that nearly a touchdown margin. So Shannon's first pick is Wisconsin over Notre Dame. By the way, I will post these picks on the Twitter pages. So if you missed them and you want to check them out and you want to see how wonderfully we did or not, you can track that over the weekend via Twitter and social media. Shannon's second pick, Charlie Waters' old school, now Trevor Lawrence's old school. Clemson is a 12-point favorite taking on North Carolina State. And Shannon going with Clemson there, that seems about right. You know, Clemson, even though Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne not there anymore this year, and even though Clemson has struggled comparatively speaking this year, they are a blue blood. They are a powerhouse. North Carolina State is not. That 12-point spread, that's a bargain, if you ask me. I think Shannon is right to pick Clemson and lay the 12 points as a 12-point favorite over North Carolina State. Shannon's third college football pick. This one is in my face. I am a USC alum. Fight on. I am a USC partisan. USC is a 12.5-point favorite against Oregon State. And she is picking Oregon State, and she gets 12.5 points. USC, as we know, has gone through some strangeness lately. A couple of weeks ago, they fired head coach Clay Helton. They seem very much determined to hire a big-time head coach. And they had a quarterback issue last game at Washington State. Their quarterback, Keaton Slovis, got knocked out very early in the game with a neck injury. So in came true freshman Jackson Dart, who has a great Hollywood screenplay name for a quarterback, Jackson Dart. And old freshman Jackson Dart did was throw 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and lead USC to a wild comeback 45-14 game after SC was down 14-0. However, Jackson Dart, it was learned, has a meniscus issue. He's out indefinitely. So Keaton Slovis back at quarterback for USC. And Shannon thinks Oregon with 12.5 points will win this bet, or will either beat SC or lose by less than 12.5. So she's picking Oregon State. That's Shannon's 3 picks: Wisconsin over Notre Dame, Clemson over North Carolina State, and dissing me by picking against my beloved Trojans, she picks Oregon State over USC. Time for my picks. The big 3 college picks. I gotta pick the UTSA game. UTSA at 3-0 under head coach Jeff Traylor, heading into Memphis, walking in Memphis, as Mark Cohn would say. But Memphis is 3-0. They got nothing but team speed. It's at the Liberty Bowl. Paul Alexander, less than an hour ago on this air, called this the biggest game in UTSA program history. I didn't say it. He said it. And as he said it, I say, you know what? You may be right. Because Jeff Traylor seems to have this team pointed in the right direction. They're dreaming big. Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine picked UTSA to go 10-2 this year. And if you're going to go 10-2 and have the best season in program history, you need to beat Memphis. It ain't going to be easy. Memphis is a 3-point favorite, and I am picking the UTSA Roadrunners, giving them the 3 points. They're going to find a window away under Jeff Traylor to win this game outright. And don't forget, thank you, Coach. Jeff Traylor will be on this show at 8:35 on Monday morning, hopefully celebrating 4-0. And as Paul said, and I agree, if UTSA wins this game, they will be ranked in the top 25. How cool will that be? Another marquee game, I'm going to pick A&M taking on Arkansas. That is a 2:30 game. So even if you watch or are at Texas versus Texas Tech at 2:30 on CBS, you get that game. It is at Jerry World. Jerry, an Arkansas alum. He was on the 1964 Arkansas National Championship team. He'll be up in his suite pulling for the Razorbacks. A&M 3-0, number 7 in the country, coming into this one, taking on Arkansas 3-0, number 16 in the country. Arkansas beat Texas handily. It's a significant game. It's at Jerry World. Texas A&M is a 5-point favorite, and I am picking Texas A&M. I think the Aggies under Jimbo Fisher are going to find a way to win this game by a touchdown or more. I think Arkansas had its moment in the sun. I think they're a little full of themselves, and I think Texas kind of let them have a little more than they were deserving in Fayetteville, Arkansas a couple of weeks ago. I like A&M. I'm willing to give up the 5 points as they beat Arkansas. Another marquee game, which is going to happen opposite the Longhorns and Texas Tech, is that Notre Dame Wisconsin game. Wisconsin a 6.5-point favorite. You'll recall Shannon picking the Wisconsin Badgers and willing to give up that 6.5 points to Notre Dame. To me, Notre Dame at number 12 in the country and 3-0. Wisconsin number 18 in the country and 1-1. 6.5 is too big. I got to go with Notre Dame. I am opposite Shannon on this one. I think the Fighting Irish blue blood program, I know Wisconsin's a big deal too, but Notre Dame with plenty of very, very good athletes on that football team, going to find a way to either play within 6.5 points, lose it by 3, 4, 5, or 6, or win it outright. I'm not a big Notre Dame fan, but I am picking the Fighting Irish, unlike Shannon, to beat Wisconsin, and I get the 6.5 points. That is Shannon's college football picks. Those are mine. Once again, I got UTSA over Memphis, A&M over Arkansas, Notre Dame over Wisconsin. Again, we'll post those online. And we transition from college football on Saturday to big boy football. And I'm not talking about the SEC. I'm talking about the National Football League. I should just play this music wherever I go. If I played this music on my phone on speaker the whole day, just come and put it in my back pocket and play this music, I would feel good all day.
That'd be your walk-up music.
That'd be my. This is just
when you go home, walk in the house.
Yes.
Your wife sees you. You play that music.
Yes. I'd be like Joe Namath walking out of the Orange Bowl in Miami after winning Super Bowl III with the number 1, just waving that number 1 sign. I love this music.
I'm sure your wife would love that too.
She would too. Yeah. She'd say,
sit down and be quiet.
What are you doing? Turn that music down. I'm trying to watch something on TV. What's my wife lately is binging on In Treatment on HBO. Apparently there were many, many seasons of In Treatment.
I've never heard that.
It's all about psychiatrists where you sit on the couch and it's therapy. You're in treatment. So apparently it was on HBO. It was a huge hit, but we haven't seen it yet. So she's just binging it. Each episode about 25 minutes, episode after episode after episode after episode. I think she's telling me I need to be in treatment.
Yeah, that she's dropping you a hint.
Man, if Chris could just get some therapy, maybe.
He's always playing that NFL music
I
when he
know.
comes walking in.
I'd have a better life. His listeners would have a better life. Let's get that guy some help. All right. NFL picks. Shannon's NFL picks. The Arizona Cardinals are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. The Jags, even with Trevor Lawrence, even with Urban Meyer, the Jags not looking good at all this season. They're 0-2. Cardinals under Kyler Murray. A lot of people thought maybe in the NFC West they'd be the weakest team. Well, they are 2-0, pal. And the Cardinals a 7.5-point favorite. That's pretty formidable in the NFL. But the Jaguars are bad. This game is in Jacksonville, but Shannon is still picking the Arizona Cardinals to whip the Jacksonville Jaguars by more than 7.5 points. So she is picking the Arizona Cardinals. Meanwhile, her beloved Buffalo Bills, she is part of that Bills mafia, although neither one of us like Cole Beasley very much. Bills are at home against the Washington football team. This is good for the Cowboys because if the Bills, who are favored by 7 points, can beat Washington, then if the Cowboys beat the Eagles, the Cowboys would be alone in first place in the NFC East by the end of Monday night. She is Bills. The line goes between 7 and 7.5, depending on where you look at it. She says the Bills will win handily. Bills are 1-1. Washington's 1-1, but the Bills are at home in Orchard Park, New York. She's got her Buffalo Bills beating the Washington football team on Sunday. Finally, another intriguing game, high noon in Cleveland, Ohio, First Energy Stadium. The 1-1 Cleveland Browns hosting the Chicago Bears. What's notable there is Justin Fields will get the start for the Chicago Bears as Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, out with injury. So she is very, very high on the Cleveland Browns, even though they are a 7-point favorite. The latest line has the Browns at a 7.5-point favorite. She's going to lay those points, give it to the Bears. She believes the Browns will win by more than a touchdown. Shannon picking the Browns over the Bears in Cleveland on Sunday. So to recap Shannon's picks, Cardinals over the Jaguars, Bills over the Washington football team, and Browns over the Bears. From Shannon's picks to my picks, Joel Colon on the live video feed on Facebook Live. He just went to Boston. He's a Patriots fan. There is a big, big game in Foxborough, Gillette Stadium, high noon our time on Sunday. The 1-1 Patriots hosting the 1-1 New Orleans Saints. The Patriots are a 3-point favorite in that game. So you think about it, you usually get about 3 points for home field advantage. So Vegas is saying these are evenly matched teams. You still have Mac Jones. I know Mac Jones, as a rookie, has been a ball manager, a game manager for the New England Patriots. I still think Sean Payton, coming off an embarrassing loss for the Saints, and Jameis Winston, a veteran quarterback. I know he has his issues, but he was red hot opening day against Green Bay. That game was played in Jacksonville. I just think the team with the better, more veteran quarterbacks will find a way to win this game even on the road. I don't think the Patriots are yet, with Mac Jones, able to beat a Saints team that is very, very good, that is coming off a loss and has a chip on its shoulder. Jameis Winston will have a chip on his shoulder. So will Sean Payton and that entire Saints team. Even though the Patriots are a 3-point favorite, I got to go Saints. And I get the 3 points. So I'm picking the Saints over the Patriots. Meanwhile, we have the Raiders in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. Afternoon game, 3:05 kickoff. The 2-0 Raiders, a 3.5-point favorite over the 1-1 Miami Dolphins. I find this spread way too low. The Dolphins got beat 35-0 by the Buffalo Bills. The Raiders are undefeated. Derek Carr is looking like the second coming of Joe Montana so far this season. How can the Raiders only be a 3.5-point favorite? I think that's a bargain. I am happy to lay the 3.5 points and pick the Raiders to win outright and win big over the Miami Dolphins on Sunday. I got to pick the Cowboys game because they're America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, on Monday night. We've talked about this a lot this morning. We talked about this with Coach A, Paul Alexander. Eagles playing very, very well. No question about it. They're better this year than we thought they would be. Paul, earlier in the show, praising Jalen Hurts, playing very, very well at quarterback for the Eagles. But the Cowboys, remember, they played the defending Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tom Brady on the opening Thursday night very well, nearly beat them. Cowboys took a lead with 1:28 to go in that opener on Thursday night. They found a way to win in a hostile territory on the road in LA against the Chargers, 20-17 last week. Cowboys defense is better. Cowboys are at home. The offense sputtered for the Cowboys after the first quarter last week. I think they will hit on all cylinders on Monday night against the Eagles. Even though the Cowboys are a 3.5-point favorite, I think they'll win by more than 3.5. I think the Cowboys will finally do what they need to do, and they didn't do it last year. Win games in the NFC East. You need to win, and you're supposed to win. This is in the Cowboys' house at AT&T Stadium. They will win. They will win by more than a touchdown, and the spread is 3.5. I'm picking the Cowboys over the Eagles. To recap, I've got Saints over the Patriots, Raiders over the Dolphins, Cowboys over the Eagles. Them's be our NFL picks. Enjoy your football weekend. And Dave Ayler, as I'm looking at the NFL schedule, your beloved Steelers at home against the Cincinnati Bengals, and Ben Roethlisberger banged up, and they're not really sure if Big Ben is going to go for you guys at Heinz Field, high noon on Sunday.
He has a pectoral muscle problem, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
And I know it's the Bengals, but the Bengals aren't as bad as they have in the past.
They're 1-1. The Steelers are 1-1.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's do they need them? Yes, but I think there's a chance for them to win without Ben.
If the Steelers lose at home to the Cincinnati Bengals after the Steelers last year,
Raiders.
Yeah, exactly. After and last year the Steelers got out to that 11-0 start. If they lose to the Bengals, I think that's going to start to signal kind of a changing of the guard in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's getting to be time to move on from Ben Roethlisberger. I do believe.
Yeah, well, a loss would help get us a better draft pick, maybe.
Wow, you're already thinking that way. At 1-1.
I'm not ready to give up on Ben yet.
All right.
We're not going to. Well, we're already not even close to an 11-0 start. But I think Ben, I think he might have this year, maybe one more. But even after this year, you got to start looking.
Yeah,
you got to start looking for a replacement.
Who will be the next Steeler quarterback of the future? We'll find out. All right, coming up, let's talk some Houston Texans. Tough loss last night at NRG Stadium to the Carolina Panthers. The man who had the call, Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans, will join us next. We'll hear about the new Texans quarterback, Davis Mills. He played well last night. He showed promise. We'll talk about him and a whole lot more. Coming up with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. I got a text. Mark Vandermeer.
I'll have you know, sir, I'm watching the Ryder Cup as well.
2 guys are watching.
Damn it. Okay.
And to make it even better, I'll be here tomorrow morning to talk about it live on the air.
Cool. All right. Joel says, when has Ben not banged up? Axel J. Miller, hashtag Raiders defense. I like seeing the Raiders win, Axel. It's fun. It's been a long time. Gruden is great for the game. The Raiders, a great brand. I would like to see them continue to win. I like it. I texted Vandermeer, no answer yet, but as soon as I get an answer, if I get an answer, I will let you know if he picks a song. I agree, long overdue. Axel. Jason says our Raiders defense is finally coming together. If for any reason, you call him and you don't get him, because he worked late last night and he hasn't texted me back yet. I might go to these cuts that you have from the game, just as a backup in case we don't have him.
You want to do the highlight montage first, then.
Yeah, to simplify, I'll go in order. I'll go highlights. Darnold doesn't want to talk about New York. Darnold on having Christian McCaffrey on his team. Yeah. Man, those are real short. One's 6 and one's 11, but we'll do them if we need to. Oh, here he comes. Oh, he's back. Living on the Edge. Is that Aerosmith? Living on the Edge? Okay. He just wrote it. Thanks, man. Vandermeer wants Living on the Edge by Aerosmith as intro music. Sounds appropriate to me. Let's see. Joel, I would love to do that. Maybe we can work that out. I think the Patriots do play the Cowboys this year, don't they? Armando Salinas. Chris, the beard looks better than the bare face I saw last time I tuned in a couple of months ago. All right. And Armando, I agree. That's kind of why I have the beard. I haven't, since the pandemic, I haven't done them. But I used to do Ancira Volkswagen commercials. And the character I kind of play on those Ancira Volkswagen commercials, I shaved the beard for that. Thank you, sir. So occasionally, or a few times a year, for a number of years, I would have to shave the beard to do those commercials. And so I'd be beardless for a while. But I agree.
No rejoin here, just the music.
Just the music. Gotcha. Here we come. Steven Tyler and Aerosmith, Living on the Edge. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon is on vacation. She will be back on Monday. And the Houston Texans with a tough loss last night. They were down 7-6 at halftime. They were down 14-6 going into the fourth quarter. They were hanging in there with rookie quarterback Davis Mills, but they fall to the Carolina Panthers 24-9 last night. And a man who deserves a medal after he called the game late into the night and gets up early to join us here on the radio this morning is the voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer. Mark, thanks for getting up early with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Chris, I always appreciate being on, and boy, what a struggle last night to score points. It's been really difficult with all the injuries and everything. It's not an excuse because every NFL team has them. In fact, seeing Christian McCaffrey go out was terrible for Panthers fans, and for McCaffrey, it gave the Texans a little bit of a shot, but you got to credit Sam Darnold, who played real well for Carolina and got them in manageable third down situations that they even had to go to third down, and they were able to outdistance themselves. But I really felt like the game was in reach for most of the night. Like you said, they unfortunately could not keep pace on the scoreboard.
And you mentioned Sam Darnold. It sure seems like 2 games in, 3 games in now, he's got a new lease on life, moving from the Jets to the Panthers. Darnold threw for 304 yards last night, but his counterpart on the other side of the ball, Davis Mills, the rookie out of Stanford, forced into action as Tyrod Taylor out of the lineup. Davis Mills doesn't throw a pick. He's 19 of 28, 168 yards, had a touchdown. I thought Davis Mills showed a lot of promise last night. How did you feel about Davis Mills?
Yeah, I don't think the moment was too big for him. I think that the biggest problem they have, and I'll get back to Mills in a second here, is they can't run the ball, Chris. They just haven't been able to do it. And this team is designed to run the ball. That's what they want to do. They know they have to run it in order to be successful. They have 5 running backs on the active roster, but nobody can really get it going. All the guys are talented. I think the line's pretty good. They've done a pretty decent job in pass protection. They're going to have to rethink how they do things, I believe. Maybe pass to set up the run. I know they came out throwing a bit just to get Mills' feet wet and all that, but that's the biggest thing to me, that they cannot move the ball on the ground. Panthers are teeing off with the safeties against the run. So was Cleveland in the second half last week. And Mills, despite being under duress sometimes, makes plays, and I like that. I think Brandon Cooks is having a phenomenal season, but I think it was a promising start for Mills. It's nothing that you're going to say, oh my gosh, he's the next whatever, but it's not like, oh, well, he's never going to get it. He gets better and better with time, and it's happened very quickly. Started training camp, believe me, he didn't look like he was ready to do what he did last night at all. And he was able to put together a performance that makes you say, all right, let's see what you got for round two. Unfortunately, round two is in Buffalo next week.
Oh, gosh, yes. And we'll talk about that in a moment as we talk with the voice of the Houston Texans, Mark Vandermeer. I found it interesting, and he didn't say it directly in the postgame interview. Davis Mills kind of alluded to the fact, and he said, while obviously you don't wish anyone injury, to Rod Taylor, the original starter, out of the lineup, he said, but I've got this opportunity. I've always wanted to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, so I'm going to, continue to work toward that. And as you well know, Mark, you've talked about it. Tyrod Taylor kind of has a history of giving way to players who become the permanent starters on other teams. Do you think Davis Mills has an opportunity in the next few games before Tyrod Taylor comes back to say, hey, I am the real deal, even though I'm a rookie and I deserve to continue to hold this position as starting quarterback for the Texans?
Well, there's always the opportunity if you're given the chance to play, and that's what he has, because Taylor is out for a minimum of 2 more games. He's on IR, and the way IR works these days is it's a minimum of 3 weeks. So Taylor can come back after a couple of more games, and those games are against Buffalo on the road and New England at home. Unfortunately, you have really good defensive coordinators and defenses to deal with. But Mills showed last night this is the number 1 defense in the league, and the Carolina Panthers heading in. I don't think they're going to see too many changes to their stats that way. But Mills did move the ball. They just couldn't close the deal. If they can't run the ball, well, that's going to make life tough. There they were. Should have been tied at the half. They missed an extra point after Mills found Anthony Miller in the back of the end zone for what would have been the equalizer, and it basically was. But coming out of the third quarter, halftime break, third quarter, first possession, they move it down to the 39-yard line. 3rd and 4, they don't make it. They punt on 4th and 4. They took a 5-yard penalty to get a little breathing room. But that, I thought, was a big moment. I'm not saying Cully should have gone for it, because if you don't make it right there, you're giving them great field position. And the way the defense was starting to heat up in the first half, I completely respect the decision. But I think Mills had lots of opportunities, didn't make the most of all of them, but it was a good first step for a rookie quarterback making his first start. Because look around the league. How are these rookies doing? Not so hot, most of them, early on. There's time, obviously. This is the very beginning of it all. Mac Jones looks okay, but it's not like he's throwing for 250 and 3 touchdowns a game. I mean, he's just holding it together and not turning it over.
Well, and Mark, I wonder from your perspective, these last couple of games, obviously, Texans get the opening day win, and then they go to Cleveland. They hang in there. They were formidable, had a shot to beat the Browns. Browns ran away with it a little late. The running game really kicked in. And as you mentioned last night, 7-6 at halftime, should have been 7-7 if Joey Sly makes the extra point. He would later make a 53-yard field goal. And, we go into the fourth quarter and it's 14-6, and you've still got a shot to win this game going into the fourth. Do you think, and Carolina looks pretty darn good this year, to have played well, and I know that's not the objective is to win football games, but to have played well at Cleveland and at home for a large degree, other than not punching it into the end zone against the Carolina Panthers. Do you see positives here after 3 games?
There are some, there definitely are some. Seeing Mills play well is a positive. Cooks is an all-world type receiver. The guy, he's gotten better with time. And the defense knows that he's their best weapon, yet he still gets open at 9 catches or whatever last night. Another really good performance by him. I think the defense's ability to get into the backfield without sending extra people is a definite plus. And I thought that they would continue to do that in the second half. I was hoping they would, and they did. They had 3 sacks in the first half. They stripped the ball out at the end of the half, couldn't get on it. It was recovered by the Panthers. I thought they seized momentum for sure in that football game. You do see some seedlings here, but no Justin Reed in the secondary, no Kamu Grugier-Hill, who's off to a great start for them, but he couldn't go last night. They should be back, I hope, against Buffalo, and I think they can make a difference. So, look, it's early. You're 1-2 in the division. You'll be no less than a game back. I don't want to go here right now because it's only 3 weeks in, but this is early. You know, the Texans, 2018, they started 0-3 and they won 9 in a row. I'm not saying they're going to do that this year, but let's just see how this thing plays out. They're clearly competitive, to your point, Chris, and they just have to get better. You know, all the NFL coaches will tell you it's all about improvement. You got to get better as the year goes on. I think they will. Is it enough? We'll find out. Schedule's pretty tough right now. Clearly, last night's game, by the way, one more thing, was way tougher than we thought going into the season, right? A lot of people thought, oh, Carolina, they weren't that good last year. Sam Darnold, how good can they be? Well, they're pretty good. They're 3-0.
Yeah, that's a tremendous point. And as you mentioned, Mark, the next game at Buffalo, certainly going to be tough. Buffalo picked by many coming into the year, and rightfully so, and defending AFC East champions. But again, looking on the bright side, you now have 10 days to prepare for Buffalo. Buffalo's got a tough one coming up against the Washington football team on Sunday. So you get a chance to watch that, scout them. And do you think the extra days rest and preparation will benefit the Texans?
Well, no doubt for this team, Chris, it's going to help because any team, you don't like playing on a Thursday because of the short amount of rest, short week and all that. And, you know, they'll say whatever they want to say, like, oh, it's great to get right back out there. Well, it's tough for the Texans because they were breaking in a rookie quarterback, and they don't practice during a short week. There's no practice. It's walkthrough stuff, so there's no full-speed action. So people are wondering, why weren't they more elaborate on offense or whatever you're wondering? That's why. You really don't have any time to work on new stuff. Now they do with Mills. He gets to look at the tape, get a full week of prep. They get to heal some wounds, like I mentioned, Reed and Grugier Hill, some of the other guys who are nicked up, and desperately they need them back out there. Now, the guys on IR, Amendola, Nico Collins, Gerard Taylor, we'll see how it goes with the quarterbacks when Taylor gets back. You know, and back to your earlier question, sure, Mills has a shot at it, but this team, I feel like they need Taylor because of his running ability along with the passing ability. The first game against Jacksonville, they didn't average really well per carry, even though they had a big chunk of rushing yards. Taylor had the longest run of that day. They need that dimension to this offense to keep the defense a bit off balance because they're not doing enough of that.
And finally, Mark, you know, speaking of living on the edge from Aerosmith, not only at the Bills on Sunday, but as you mentioned, the next week you come back and take on the New England Patriots at NRG Stadium. And even though it could be the battle of two rookie quarterbacks, Mac Jones versus Davis Mills, as we know, Bill Belichick is notorious for giving rookie quarterbacks fits with his defensive scheme. So that's going to be a heck of a test for Mills in all probability in this Texans team when they come back from Buffalo in 2 weeks to take on New England.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Mac Jones, he's a rookie, and look, we'll find out how he's looking coming into that game. Texans will be at home, hopefully get a little home cooking with the crowd and that kind of thing. That'll be fun against the Patriots on October 10th. You know, Buffalo is no easy trip because, to me, the AFC East teams, look, they're used to that trip. They make it every year. It's a strange trip. It's a tough environment. The travel is just a little bit different going to Buffalo. The vibe is different. I think it's a good home field advantage for them, and it's really going to be a challenge for the Texans. But look, this is the NFL, and there are no breaks. You know, you can say, well, why can't we play Jacksonville every week? You know, you just can't. And Jacksonville's going to get better too. So it's just a challenge every week. Urban Meyer said to, did you read this week? Urban Meyer said to, who was it? Vic Fangio of the Broncos. He said, it's like playing Alabama every week.
Yeah.
And it's true because you get those athletes. You know, when I was at Miami, I was at the Hurricanes in the early O's when we were outstanding, and Florida State was outstanding then too. And I asked the guys who cover the NFL, I said, what's it like? They said, it's like playing Florida State every week. You know, that was your toughest opponent. And you're getting your toughest opponent every week. You got fire-breathing dragons on the D-line ready to come after the quarterback every single week. They're all good. So we'll see how the Texans deal with it in these next few weeks.
He is Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Houston Texans. Go follow him on Twitter. A great follow at Texans Voice. And a week from Sunday, he'll have the call high noon in the Central Time Zone as the Texans will be at Buffalo to take on the Bills. Once again, Mark, after you called this game late into the night last night to jump in here early in the morning, above and beyond the call of duty, but we sure do appreciate it. Thank you so much and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Chris. I have small kids. Sleep is not an option. So Appreciate being on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mark Vandermeer. Another guy in Houston once said failure is not an option. That was Gene Kranz, the flight director for the Apollo moon landings. So a sleep is not an option for Mark Vandermeer. Great guy, great interview, and great broadcaster. I love hearing his call, and we have those for you whenever the Texans play, both on AM 1300, The Zone in Austin, Ticket 760 in San Antonio. Reviewing the poll question for today, it was just a straight up simple question. Got a big one tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. kickoff at DKR in Austin. The Texas Longhorns taking on the undefeated Texas Tech Red Raiders. So we ask you on the poll question at Ticket 760 on Twitter, who's going to win? Who you got? 61% have the Texas Longhorns. 39% have the undefeated Texas Tech Red Raiders. What a great football weekend it is going to be, college and pro. And I love a weekend like this that extends into Monday night with the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. I will post Shannon and my college and NFL picks on social media coming up here in a little bit later today. Our thanks to Coach A, Paul Alexander of radicallyrational.com. Go check out that website. Mark Vandermeer is on Twitter at Texans Voice. Dave Ayler, you're going on vacation. What are we going to do without you next week, man?
I'm halfway out the door right now.
Until that salesperson gives you what you need.
I'm still waiting around for that.
And you're going to, what's the biggest thing you're going to do at Port Aransas at the coast next week?
I have no idea. It's the parents are in town, so they wanted to go down there. So I'm just along for the ride. I'm just letting them pick what they want to do and just ride it out.
My pro tip: Port A pizza.
Port A pizza.
Port
all right.
A, easy to remember. Port A. We had it like 3 times. It was so good.
We'll check that out.
So you want pizza again? Yes.
Yes, always.
Port A pizza. It's darn good in Port Aransas. Have a great vacation. Be safe.
Thank you.
The great Dave Ayler. Thanks to you for listening all week. Shannon will be back on Monday. Have a blast all football weekend, and we'll see you at 6 a.m. on Monday morning. Adios, amigos. Woo! Woo! Thank you, Fred, for wishing Dave a great vacation. Mitt Romney. Pablo, I don't hear Mitt Romney, but you do, so perception is reality. Joel Cooks, yeah, Joel Cologne, Brandon Cooks, pretty darn good. All right, y'all. Armando, anybody who's still here on the live video feed, thank you, Joel. Congratulations, Joel, on your big week in Boston, including Fenway Park. And I'm happy that it was such a success and you enjoyed it so much. Jason Paniagua, enjoy your weekend as well. Everybody listening, enjoy your weekend. I will see you very soon. Woo! And I'll post my Bud Light happy weekend video. Y'all take care. Adios.